Hello my fellow gamers, this is Days, and I've got some interesting things to talk about regarding the highly anticipated Bloodborne. The footage you'll be seeing is from PlayStation Experience and the Game Awards 2014. I'll be covering what we got from Miyazaki-san regarding co-op mode, PvP, Chalice Dungeon, and character customization. So grab yourself a drink and let's get it started. If you haven't seen the PlayStation Experience or Game Awards footage, I'll be leaving a link in the description in case you wanted to see the footage without any commentary, as I'll be talking over this video about all the new features that have been uncovered so far. Starting with a feature that's new to the Souls series, which is Bloodborne's Chalice Dungeon, where players advance in jolly cooperation on a dungeon in the game. If you're a long-term Souls fan, you'd know that this has never been seen in any of Bloodborne's predecessors. Bloodborne director Hidetaka Miyazaki held an extended gameplay demonstration and question and answer session at PlayStation Experience today, during which he further detailed the game's newly revealed Chalice Dungeon and other game systems. Miyazaki explained that players will generate their own Chalice Dungeon after acquiring the special chalice and performing a ritual. Bloodborne will build a self-contained level that players can explore alone or cooperatively, as well as share with other players. A player's Chalice Dungeon will be fixed after it's created, meaning the level's layout, trap, and enemy placement will be the same each time a player visits it. And I quote, "Once you have generated your dungeon after the ritual, the dungeon will stay fixed," Miyazaki said through a translator. He also said that dungeon bosses will be part of the procedural generation, and that the flaming giant guard dog shown in the demo won't be the only boss creature. I quote, "It's going to remain unchanged for that time. The benefit of that is that it allows us to give the players an opportunity to master the dungeon. You may not do it the first time around, so now that your dungeon is fixed, you can try another path or tactic. Just assume that the difficulty level of these dungeons are quite high. It's not going to be easy to breeze through these." FromSoft had two objectives in creating the Chalice Dungeon systems. Miyazaki said, "Strategically keep Bloodborne fresh and interesting and give players freedom in sharing strategies and tactics." Miyazaki said he wanted to extend the feeling of playing a game like Demon Souls and Dark Souls for the first time, which is something I personally like. When players are sharing strategies and hints with each other, over time, players learn pretty much everything about the game, leaving few mysteries to uncover on the long term. And I quote, "Similar to when a game first comes out, when people are talking about completing a dungeon or a level, we want to continue that momentum," he said. "The fixed format of the dungeon is necessary to keep that idea of wanting players to contribute, but also have something to look forward to." The sharing of these experiences we're trying to expand the scale of the actual shared. Players will be able to share these generated dungeons and the methods they use to beat them. We're trying to raise the bar for freedom and scope that allows players to share their experiences. That will hopefully lead to strategies they've never seen or experienced. It's a loop of communication and discussion. It's somewhat open-ended in that sense. Responding to questions from attendees, Miyazaki confirmed that Bloodborne will feature player versus player multiplayer, but won't confirm precisely how players will interact with each other competitively. My guess is it's going to be very similar to Dark Souls, Demon Souls, or Dark Souls 2, where players have to invade somehow other players. FromSoft mentioned that it will be seamlessly invading other players, but we've yet to uncover that. Miyazaki also promised extensive character customization, saying that the options players expect from a role-playing game, different weapons, faces, items, and equipment, would be present in Bloodborne. He added that customization features that are quote-unquote very unique to Bloodborne would be in the game, but added no further detail. And while Miyazaki wouldn't confirm whether systems present in the Souls games, like becoming a hollow or soul when dying, would be in Bloodborne, he said that the development team knows that players like about their previous games, and it's safe to assume that similar systems will be in place. Personally, I think it would be killing the cursed people, the people that are diseased, and somehow transforming into a beast. I think beast transform. I firmly believe that beast transformations have a lot to do with the game. in terms of being hollow or not, because being hollow in Dark Souls 1, for example, was pretty much kind of useless. It only disconnected the PvP part of the game, but other than that, it had just about no other, mechanic effect, if you know what I mean. But now my guess is that being hollow is being a beast in Bloodborne, which is something I'd really appreciate if it's actually implemented into the game. And I'd like to believe that it is. We've already seen footage of bosses transforming into beasts. One feature of Dark Souls that may not transfer, however, is the popular praise the sun gesture. Miyazaki said that because the gesture is closely associated with Dark Souls, he worried that Bandai Namco, the publisher of that game, may not appreciate it. A fan in attendance shouted out an alternative, praise the moon, which Miyazaki seemed to like. Miyazaki also went even more in depth into the game. Here's a quick rundown of a few Miyazaki's notes from the panel that go into even more in depth than what we saw during the keynote. Over 10 maps in the world. Each map is unique with its own situation. The Chalice Dungeon is a multi-layered map located in the World's Dungeon. Procedurally generated but massive, spanning the entire underground of the city. Each area in the underground has a holy chalice, finding that allows you to break the seal and access another section. And by multi-layer, that means that there are 3 layers to present different surprises and traps to widen the game's strategy. After generating your dungeon through the Holy Chalice ritual, it stays fixed. That's it. That allows players the opportunity to master each dungeon while still providing quote-unquote fresh and interesting experience. Assume the difficulty level of the dungeons is high. They won't be easy to breeze through at all. Like Demon Souls, the focus is on the sense of accomplishment and achievement after clearing a dungeon. I like how Miyazaki's been referring to, or maybe relating to, Bloodborne from Demon Souls. It just tells me that Demon Souls has something to do with Bloodborne. Mombasa. Increases scale of sharing. Players will be able to share generated dungeons and the methods they use to complete them. You can narrow those down to specific communities or just a closed group of friends. And a final note on the dungeon, the Chalice Dungeon isn't tied into the main story. It's optional, comparing it to Demon Souls / Dark Souls. Here are a few points from the Q&A. Character customization will be about on level with Dark Souls 2, but there will be some unique features. As an action RPG, it'll have everything, quote-unquote, to be expected from an RPG. The team is working to keep the game running at the highest frame they can keep, and the final specifications will depend on what works best for the experience. There is PvP in the game. There might be something along the lines of the fight in Dark Souls 2 where you took on the role of a boss and fought against another player. I like how FromSoft is not ashamed to take the good stuff from Dark Souls 2 and implement it into Bloodborne. Like having PvP and PvE mixed together in a boss fight, or going up the stairs real quick by holding the O button and the analog stick. Also note that the dungeon you saw during the keynote was made for the presentation. The actual dungeons will be much larger and much more complex. The boss characters are also part of the randomly generated element. And on a final note, not that it really matters to me, to be honest, because that's just my opinion. The game will not be running at 60 FPS, but they will be keeping it at the highest frame rate possible. That could be 30, stable 30, over 30. I'm not sure, but to the veteran Souls fans, that's not really going to be an issue, because the game is still smooth as shit. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything new, do not hesitate to leave a rating, whatever you like. If you enjoyed the content, go ahead, feel free to subscribe, any of that good stuff. I'll be leaving all the references in the description, video links to the trailer and Game Awards and PlayStation Experience demos of Bloodborne, of course. This has been Days. Have a good day.
PlayStation